Good morning, Smoke Wagon here, Mad Check Outdoors. Today, I've got a little project going. This is my dad's Remington 1148 12 gauge. Holds 4 rounds. It's recoil operated, so when you shoot it, the entire barrel in action moves back. This is Remington's first semi-automatic shotgun after World War II, and it's basically a streamlined version of the Remington Model 11 or the Browning A5 shotgun minus the hump. Same recoil action as the A5 and the Model 11. I recently, Dad was having problems with it, so I bought a rebuild kit, and I bought a rebuild kit from Art's Gun Shop, and the recoil came with a recoil spring, an action spring, the magazine tube spring, and a new plug, I believe, for this one. So I replaced all of those springs in this one and got this one going. It shoots good now, minus the recoil pad. And if you can see the recoil pad, if it'll focus on it, you can tell it's totally collapsed. And it's just hard as a rock. It's brittle. If you squeeze down on that, you may as well not have a recoil pad on your shotgun, because this thing's just crumbling. So I got to get a new recoil pad. So after doing that, I decided, I'm a 16 gauge fan, so I decided I wanted to get me a 16 gauge 1148. So I found a Remington 1148 Sportsman. And the difference in the Sportsman and just the regular 1148 is, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but there's 3 dimples in the magazine tube. There's one there, one right there, and one right there. And what that does is, since this is a Sportsman's model, it allows the gun to only hold 3 rounds total for shooting migratory game birds. So that means your magazine follower, when you turn it, if you can hear that, it's only falling to right here, and it won't come out of the magazine tube because of those dimples. So later on today, I'm going to take this over to my buddy's house, and he has a drill press, and we're going to get a little bit just big enough for these dimples and get these dimples out of there, and try and then go in here with a file and smooth them out on the inside, so this will hold 4 rounds instead of just 2. Let me pick up my camera here. As you can see, I've got all my parts. Gun's completely taken apart. I've taken it apart, threw everything in my ultrasonic cleaner, cleaned everything up. Trigger housing, there's the bolt, and here's the things that will cause you your problems. This is your main recoil spring that goes over your magazine tube, and this a lot of shotguns don't have, and a lot of gunsmiths don't realize that these shotguns have these, and when you take them in for problems, they're not aware that these are even in the gun, and so they miss these. And how this works is this slides in right here. That's where that goes. So that goes in there, and then these 2 little arms go in the end of that cup right there. They rest in that cup, so at recoil it shoves that back up in there, and then that spring is what returns your bolt home. And a lot of gunsmiths weren't aware that that spring is even in there, so they'll just mess with stuff up here and say, we can't get it to work, we don't know what's wrong with it. And this is usually the problem. So I got a rebuild spring for this gun too, from Art's Gun Shop. This is for the 16. He doesn't have a full kit like on the 12 yet, so you get your main recoil spring and then a new action spring. And if you lay lay that kind of side by side like that, you can see how over time this recoil spring has compressed. This is the length it should be, but it's compressed to this length. So that'll cause you problems. If you line up the end of that spring, let's see right there, you can see the end of the spring is basically right there compared to the new one. So those are your main springs to keep your gun going. It didn't come with a new mag spring, but this one looks okay, so I'm just going to use it. I did shoot it before. I took it apart and it was shooting fine, but it needed a good cleaning. Also, something that will keep these guns from working good is a lot of people will slide this on here. And what you have is this is a steel, they call this the friction ring. And it's steel, but it's bronze coated. And it goes up in here. I can't do it one-handed, but it slides up in there, and it goes up in there to about like that. So then every time you shoot in this barrel, like I said, the entire barrel recoils, and this slides down. Got ahead of myself. You have this other ring. It says up for heavy loads, and if you flip it around the other way, it's for light loads. So whichever load you're going to be shooting, it's beveled correctly for it right there. You put that on here. That goes in there. Then during recoil, the friction of this is what slows the recoil down. And a lot of people always complain about how hard these guns kick, and it's because they lube this up. They put grease on it or just spray it down with WD-40 or whatever. Well, on a gun like this, that's why this is called a friction ring. It operates off of friction. This is what slows down your recoil, sliding down here. If you don't have the friction, that thing is just violently going to come to the rear and recoil, and I promise you, you'll feel every round of it, especially if you're shooting duck and pheasant loads, you know, high brass. So you don't want it to grease this up or oil this up. It's got to operate off friction. If you oil it up, that's kind of like pouring oil on your brakes in your car and expecting them to work. Same concept. So what you can do, instead of leaving it just totally bone dry, a lot of people say just get like one drop of oil on a cloth and just put a very light coat on your mag tube and then assemble it all back together, and that's all you need for up there. Don't spray that thing down and saturate it, I'm telling you, or your shoulder will hate you. And then you can oil that up like normal so it slides good in there. But I would keep oil out of here also, because that's just going to attract dirt. That's going to gum up your spring and your works. So like I said, here in a little bit I'm going to go over and we're going to try and get the dimples out of this mag tube, so this will hold 4 rounds, so when I take it pheasant hunting I'll have 5 rounds in the gun. It came with a really nice wood. The wood's still in pretty good shape. Butt stock's in pretty good shape for as old as it is. It's got some good, really good, nice wood grain. I like it. So that's kind of what I got going on at the moment. As soon as I get those dimples out, I can put it all back together and get it out to the range and shoot it some more. I've got a video already that of test firing it, and it shot really quick. So, but it doesn't kick near as bad as the 12, but the 12 doesn't have a recoil pad on it at the moment. So that's what I'm currently doing at the moment. I'm gonna do a video when I get over to my buddy's house of removing the dimples. I've read about it online, but I haven't seen a single video of anybody actually showing you. People have said you can go in there and file them out from the inside, but that just seems like that's gonna, you know, maybe screw up the inside of the mag tube, and that would take a lot of filing to get those dimples out of there. So that seems like the easiest thing to do, and that's also what somebody said on there, was just find a little bitty drill bit just big enough for that dimple and just drill them out, and then you can run a half moon file down through there and get the burrs off, so that follower will slide all the way to the end and it won't jam up the follower in the spring. So that's what we're going to try to do. So tune in here in just a minute, and I'm going to go over to my buddies and we're going to work on that.
You're going to have to move.
Okay, 1/8 inch drill bit, gonna drill the dimples out.
Got it?
Buy some more drill bits, Rush. Where did you try to buy your drill bits?
I got an old set of them.
The last ones I bought were at Arbor Freight. They weren't terrible, but.
It ain't gonna come out because there's probably
Well, I gotta get that.
there's probably some burrs in
Yeah, I
there.
gotta get the burr out of it.
Okay.
Let's see.
Is it gun